Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our March State and Regional webinar. Today, we are talking about policy and advocacy with Bill from AACRAO's governance office. So we would love for you to make this interactive. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions, anything, Bill is definitely the one to ask. And we thought this would be a unique way to expand the work that we do as state and regionals, because sometimes we think from our institution standpoint, we can't do too much advocacy because we're, entitled or working with or affiliated with our institution, but there's a lot of power once you connect with your state and regional and use that as its own entity, which in many cases it is. I know that we're 501c3s and others, but using the power of our state and regionals to really support our membership, to also support the work that we do in education, but to also back up the work that AACRAO is doing. So when AACRAO puts out policies, we also can back them up as well. So we're going to learn a lot today, but it won't be the end. There will be many opportunities at annual meeting along with throughout the year to engage and work around advocacy and governance. And we encourage your full engagement, but also letting your members know. So anything that you learn today, please do find ways to just share the different nuggets that you'll learn with your membership through the various social media channels or your newsletter. Just wanted to remind you as well that we have a pre-conference for those who are coming to annual. If you're coming to annual, do you mind just giving us a hand wave or an emoji to let us know that you're coming? If you are not, wonderful, can't wait to see you. We do have a pre-conference you can register for if you haven't already registered.
I'm not coming. They won't let me go.
Not this time.
I'm kidding.
It's probably because you were going to start some trouble, but I know he's going to be there because he has some advocacy things to present. But if we did not let him go, it's because he was starting trouble. I know it. Like I feel it in my spirit. But yes, if you're coming, please do join us at our pre-conference. If you have time on Sunday, it is early Sunday morning at 8:30. We will also revamp some material and share it at our leadership meeting, which we will be having in June. So if you have an opportunity, we do have these announcements listed under exchange. So check out our exchange for state and regionals to find out the updates about the leadership meeting happening in June. If you have any questions, feel free to announce that or send myself or Katie an email. I'll be your incoming chair, and Katie is also our incoming chair for the following year. So we are here to support you. And with that said, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today. Go ahead, Bill.
All right, now the pressure's on. First and foremost, thank you guys for allowing me to be part of your conversation. Thanks, Janika and Katie. I know Amber's dealing with some snow issues, but she wanted to be part of this, so I just want to thank the leaders of the state and regional. I also want to take the opportunity to introduce you to the newest government relations staff member, Mike, who is waving right now. So I'll have Mike introduce himself. And so when you see his name or his face, you're like, okay, that's GR.
Hey, everyone. So as Bill said, my name is Mike. I originally hail from Long Island, New York, where I went to undergrad at Stony Brook University. I then moved to DC to pursue my Master's of Public Administration at American University. Throughout the course of that program, there was an internship piece of it, and that's how I got involved with AACRAO, originally as the communications intern. Then I transitioned to the membership team, and as of April 16th, officially, I'll be then in GR, right? So it's been a bit of a circuitous route to get me there, but public policy has always been where I ultimately wanted to end up and where I want to spend my time. So I'm really looking forward to this opportunity and getting to meet all of you guys and work with you throughout the way. Thank you.
So, hello, Tiffany. Do you want to say anything as our esteemed board rep?
Oh no, I'm I'm just saying hi to everybody. I'm just here in the background. I'm actually off work today. I literally just defended my dissertation like less than an hour ago. So I'm not working today, but anything Bill Gil is a part of, I had to jump on and see
Oh
what's
my
happening.
goodness. Now I feel even more pressure. So all of this kind of started with a conversation I had with Janika, Amber, and Katie about, there's really one of the strategic plan portions of the strategic plan is really kind of additional engagement or increased engagement with state and regionals around public policy, because there's a lot of power associated with your voices and what the unique voices that you have. And so I just wanted and again, I'm happy to also, I plan to be there, Janika, at and Katie at the 8:30. So I'm happy to do this little presentation there as well, if you guys would like me to. So I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully this works. So I'm just going to go and just overall the large overview of kind of some of the things that we're currently tracking as far as like a GR and AACRAO. Obviously, we're following the budget process, not only for this year, but also for next year. This year, that was supposed to be passed in September, and it's just now getting passed tomorrow night, we hope. That's what they say. Legislation, Dr. Fox has mentioned that she wants to do some sort of HEA reauthorization, not a holistic HEA reauthorization, but a piecemeal HEA. And so these are her quote unquote priorities before the session is over. Not sure if they're actually all going to make it to the floor or if they're going to pass altogether, but these are the piecemeals. The Deterrent Act has passed a full House. The College Cost Reduction Act has left committee. And yesterday they marked up 3 additional pieces of legislation. HR 7683, 6418, and 3724. And those are all associated with some of the things that they want to do. First Amendment on campus, they want to make sure that part of it is every institution needs to submit what their free speech guidelines are in order, otherwise they won't be eligible for Title IV. Charter school educations, it's a grant program, and accreditation in college excellence. It's obviously it's around accreditation issues and everything like that. They just passed that committee. They went to they're hopefully trying to get them to the floor. I doubt that in its current format, the Senate will take this up. So just a bit. But I should point out that, well, I'll talk about that later. Some other issues are DEI initiatives at federal and state levels. Legacy admissions has been getting traction lately. Obviously, we're all dealing, or not me, but you guys are dealing with FAFSA and ICERs, and we've made a large statement out for the higher ed community could really consider the application selection of college institution or commitment deadline. It's obviously always May 1st, but everything's so backed up. We have encouraged all institutions, and that's us. It's NASFA, ACE, APLU, ASCU, so all the higher ed institutions try to consider moving that back. Title IX rules are coming out in the near future. I recently found out that they're actually going to be split. There's going to be 2 sections of Title IX rules. One is going to be specifically really relating to the adjudication process of sexual incidents, and the second one is going to have to deal with athletes and transgender students and in athletics. Before that was always going to be one large, but they decided to, what I hear is that they decided to split those up. We're working towards short-term to repel. We were helpful we all support, all higher ed support short-term Pell. It was scheduled to be for a House vote. But we just didn't like the manner it was going to be paid for. So you couldn't just, it was an appropriations piece because so if you pay for something, you have to cut something else out. And they were suggesting some pretty onerous payment methodologies. Anti-Semitism on college campuses is not going away anytime soon. Student loan forgiveness, and the big one, which I really want to talk to you guys about, is regulation. So nothing's really happening within the congressional process, but so the administration has turned to the regulatory process to try to make some changes within the higher education landscape. Really, kind of the last two negotiated rulemaking processes have really brought some issues that impact our members, AACRAO members. One is around gainful employment, financial valley transparency, transcript withholding. And so while gainful employment and financial value transparency don't necessarily impact admissions or registrars, we have been working with some different stakeholders to find out who on campus would be responsible. And it's not the registrar's office, but the registrar would be part of the team compiling information together. So that's going to be a little bit more complicated. Borrower defense. Oh, there's transcript withholding. There's gainful, sorry, distance ed, accreditation. And so I wanted to stop right there and really focus on some of the things that we have done as a community, meaning higher education, regarding gainful employment, financial value transparency, and transcript withholding. So the higher ed community sent a letter a little bit over a week ago, to Secretary Cardona, asking for a delay in the implementation of some of those regulations, specifically these issues around transcript withholding, financial impact, financial responsibility, and the whole issue of administrative burden, implementation and timelines. And so we have requested a delay in the implementation of these regs for a variety of reasons. So both of these letters are on the AACRAO webpage. And these are all the associations that signed on to it. If you haven't seen it, AACRAO sent its own letter specifically focusing on the transcript withholding. And this is also on our webpage, and that's specifically regarding these two regs, 33 and 34. And has to issue, and I'm sure that this is not a new issue for anybody. It talks about what actions we have done to date, the webinar, the interpretation of the regs, the feedback that we did, the national survey that we did with ACE Nakubo, the analysis that went in, some of the feedback that we got regarding the 3 questions regarding transcript withholding. And it continues going on. And there's, again, we asked a delay in the implementation of these, especially with workflow, questions asked, implementation, SIS systems that may not be able to provide individual flushing out which sessions were utilized with Title IV funds versus not. And so that's one of the things that we're really focusing on. These were all the people that we had a conversation with, the Deputy Assistant Secretary, David Musser. He's probably key in all this. He's a SCSer, the career that is leading all of the negotiation rulemaking process. He's the main point. And then Vanessa Gomez is the point of contact for this section within the regulations that is compiling comments from the community. So what I like, and if you guys can see, it's about, as you guys can see, it's about 49 pages. So I'm not going to go through all that. You guys can do all that. And the reason I highlight that is to talk about the concept of state and regionals becoming engaged in some public policy areas that I think are kind of low-hanging fruit and it'd be beneficial for a multitude of reasons. Number one, it gets engagement in the policy process. Number two, it will also bring a voice out from your state. And I'll talk a little bit about the system, and would also be sent to your members of Congress as letting them know how this could possibly impact students within your state or regions. And so I just brought an example of prior when I engaged some state and regionals regarding the Prosper Act. 10 state regionals shared their concept or their concerns with their members of Congress. And therefore, we reached 276 members from 27 states. And this impacted approximately over 1,100 institutions. And these were the state and regionals that became engaged. And I kind of just highlight that as something to think about. So we're talking about on federal level issues. And what we would do is, obviously, we don't expect you guys to be masters or experts on any of this. We certainly don't expect state and regionals to write 39 pages or anything like that. But what we would be willing to do is to write up a draft letter for association and regionals to consider, make their own individual changes, and then submit them on behalf of the association as your comments to, well, we're talking specifically regarding transcript withholding and some of the concerns that folks have in your state and regions, but there's a multitude of different areas that we're obviously going to become engaged in. And so this is a holistic higher education outreach initiative for also, but I don't think that AACRAO state and regionals have thought of this as an opportunity, but I just wanted to kind of share that this has been done in the past, and it's been impactful because a lot of state members love to hear from their state constituents, and it really makes an impact when they hear back from their home states. So we're willing to do that. And then essentially what we would do is work in collaboration with each of you and send it through our system that would go to all of your members of Congress, your legislative directors and education assistants, legislative assistants, and also be sent to the department. Gives you something, obviously, for you guys to show to your membership that you guys are engaged. Ideally, we'd love to have a representative on each of your executive committees that would be a public policy individual. And then with the overall, long-term goal is to AACRAO to have monthly or bi-monthly calls with all of the GR representatives on the executive committee to kind of talk about and strategize how both the national office and the state and regionals could work collaboratively to a unified voice regarding regulation or legislation. So talking about, that's on the federal level. So talking about instances for you guys to become engaged at your state level. You guys have so much going on. And again, most of this is all state driven. It's not federal driven. Financial aid, authorization, tuition policies, some veteran and other waivers that are different than the federal government's and the GI Bill, transfer articulation agreements, admissions requirements, performance funding, accountability, residency requirements, reciprocity agreements, reporting, degree authorization and review. So I just wanted to kind of show all that. So number one, on the national level, and number two, at the state level. And so, and we've done this in previous state and regionals, and this is on the Advocacy website and the Advocacy Center. So on the bottom, you'll find a map of the United States. So think about it this way. In theory, if you had a government relations, or if you identified something, and I'm just going to pick Colorado, that has become a hot state issue, or there's an issue that, whether it's transcript withholding. I heard just today that Tennessee is considering a state transcript withholding legislation. So let's go with, Colorado. The, Rocky Mountain AACRAO could then send a letter to, so this gives you all the folks that are elected. And it goes, so this system not only allows for state and regionals to send letters to their federal members of Congress, but it also allows it to be sent to state representatives under the auspices of your state and regional. So you guys are not speaking on behalf of your institution, you're speaking on behalf of, Tennessee AACRAO, Rocky Mountain AACRAO, Maryland AACRAO. And so it's not, you're not considered a lobbyist. And we have a document that speaks to what is a lobbyist and what's advocacy and what's education. That's been done by our Legs Council. So as you move forward, and I know that different folks are on different levels and on different organization levels and stuff, I wanted to share with you that there's ability for you to become engaged at the state level through our system, as well as the federal level. And we have all the contact information for the education folks, both in senators' offices and House members' offices, as well as state offices who are members of the education committee. So all this would go via our system under your name. And it's very easy. So it's under your name, and any kind of other follow-up would go directly to you. The reason I also say that is that this also allows, the system also allows, if you do identify any legislation in any of these states, for example, let's just go with, I don't know, Tennessee. Tennessee now wants to make a comment regarding transcript withholding. And so they would just tell us the number of the legislation. We'd be able to insert it here, and that would let anybody know that a number comes up and they're tracking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 legislation. At any time anything is done with that bill, an update would be sent regarding any movement on that legislation so you could track it easier. I hope I am making some sort of sense. As I mentioned, just in summary, the Advocacy Center allows for state and regionals to become engaged. You can identify which bills will impact, and you can facilitate the ability for tracking legislation. You can connect with state government, relation to individual on campus, and let them know that this is an issue, and that your association, that AACRAO, the state AACRAO Association or regional, has sent that. Again, you're not speaking on behalf of the institution. And again, our goal would be hopefully to be able the ability to create a government relation position on the board of your state and regional to become a liaison for any of the public policy issues that kind of pop up. So I will just leave it there. I'm sorry, I saw Janika and I'm just jumping off. And I'll just open up for discussion. Or just tell me if I'm absolutely crazy, because Sarah knows I'm absolutely crazy, right, Sarah? From the PPAG?
I did have a question. Thank you for this. I am often blown away by the things that I just don't keep on my radar all the time because I'm knee deep in work. But I do appreciate, and I know how important the legislation is. Thank you for reminding us of how central things are at the state level before they get to the federal level as well. I'm thinking about the state bills and how you showed the site with the different states. So what's the process for if once we learn about a particular bill that we either hear, at our local, state, and regional, someone share, because sometimes I was at a community college, so our 4-year institutions would hear about things that 2-year institutions wouldn't hear about, 2-year institutions would hear about things 4-year institutions wouldn't hear about. And then in the state of Maryland, we have the University of Maryland College Park and the University Regent, which kind of, manages that whole big conglomerate of most of our state institutions. So there are many different bills that are kind of put out there, but as we come across them from our state and regional, who or what is the process of letting AACRAO know so we can get it added to that website for the tracking?
It's actually pretty straightforward. If you have a bill tracking number, and all you need to do is just let myself or Mike know. And what we can do is then just go into the system and track a piece of legislation and say we want to track it. And so we will put you guys down as with the email contact, and then any action would then go directly to the people who, within Maryland AACRAO that you want to be a POC for.
So this can, once we give you the number, and is this number given to you via email, or is this like an intake form?
No, it's an email right now. We're trying to keep it simple.
So through an email, send it to you, once you get a chance, you upload it, then you attach it to whomever sent it saying, okay, we'll send this back to CapACRAO, like info@CapACRAO. And
Right.
then we get updates, literally, like it's tracking it for us in that case.
Yep.
Okay. That's amazing.
If, bill's been submitted, bill has been, markup will transpire on this date, bill left committee, approved by committee, X number of people voted for it, X number of people voted against it. It can, and then, if it goes to a floor for full committee vote, so it can be and then you could, okay, if you support the legislation, okay, well then you write letters to the people that didn't support the legislation, and you write them like, I'd love to have a quick opportunity to chat with you about this from our perspective as Maryland AACRAO.
I'm thinking, I have one more question. I'm thinking for individuals who state and regionals who don't have a policy coordinator, is there kind of position, just and maybe that's a larger question I should be asking because others may have it. If you have a state and regional policy position, could you just raise your hand? I would be interested in reaching out to maybe get like a small position description so that
I've
we
got one
can.
for you.
Oh, awesome. So we can publicize this to other individuals. We often are beginning from scratch. So how do we eliminate a little bit of that trial and error? But that would be great. I'll send you an email to follow up. Bill.
Yeah, I'll send you and Katie the JD.
But does anyone in on the call currently have a role that focuses on policy and governance? Is anyone thinking about that role by any chance?
So SACRO has a committee, but it's not part of the executive board.
Okay.
And so that is a subcommittee, so it's kind of an in-between. I'm not sure that that's the
counts.
preference of AACRAO, but we've been able to invite Bill to come and provide some information to members, and that's been very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing, Sarah.
And I just another thing is I really want to put our availability to come out to state and regionals to talk about this stuff and to provide federal updates for all the state and regionals. Just wanted to share that out there. We did that a lot, especially during COVID when people were having a lot of virtuals, but I think it's great for us to go out there and just share with the information one-on-one with folks. I've gone to obviously SACRO, I've gone to TACRO, I've gone to Metro Washington DC, AACRAO. So again, we're happy to be as a resource.
That's something that we're interested in. Do we reach out the same way we reach out for AACRAO reps at the meeting, or would you prefer we reach out to you specifically?
No, that one is definitely via the AACRAO rep.
Okay.
And just put that notation down and Tiffany will handle it. Yeah, so some folks do have subcommittees. Like I know that, for example, Missouri AACRAO has a representative on the board. So there is no one way to do it. Like there are subcommittees. I know that, for example, TACRAO Texas has a subcommittee, and they're even more like they've divided the state because it's so big into different regions. While others just have one representative for all of, for example, Missouri. Then the other ones are, subcommittees, and just different and just different structures. So there is no one way. What we're trying to do is try to make it as easy as possible for everybody. We can draft, if we've already done a major letter to a member of Congress or a committee as an individual organization, it's not that difficult to make it a one-pager and do it for state regionals as a draft, and you guys can put it on your letterhead and then send it out. So in the short term, I guess what I'm asking, and I know that Janika, you mentioned this is a short-term, long-term conversation. I would, for short term, I would really kind of request that, state and regionals consider submitting comments regarding the transcript withholding regs. Use our letter, and if there's anybody's interested, we're happy to draft something up. It'd be much more generic. I think I just use the specific regs and share our concerns regarding the fact that we need more guidance, workforce impact, workflow impact, processes, that kind of stuff, make it as generic as possible. But I would always say is that on behalf of let's just say Missouri AACRAO and the 20 institutions within our state, Like that makes a really big statement. I know we write to share our provide comments regarding X, Y, or Z, and we're happy to kind of do that draft. That's the short term. And short term, we're talking like sooner rather than later. These are supposed to go into effect July 1, and July 1 is literally just around the corner. So we're hearing that the education department has already had conversations regarding delaying implementation. So the more that we pile on, the better, because there are other folks that are looking for implementation as quickly as possible without understanding. They're not education people, so they don't understand the processes and the impact what this will have for higher education. They're, other constituencies, let's just call it that. But long term, I think, Danica, we were talking about like a series of conversations where it'd be a lot more structured and laid out, and kind of a similar conversation that I just had here, but a lot more structured in regards to how something like this would work. Just think about at the end, the premise of having a group that AACRAO could convene on a monthly basis. Like, this is what's happening at the Senate federal level. And then individuals could talk about what's happening at the state level. And then, we would then work with individual state and regionals about engagements and stuff.
I think that's a good segue. So I'm interested in those who are attending today. What do you think about the needs as they exist, as Bill is laying them out for us as state and regionals of our various orgs to learn more about it? What particular topics, or would it be how to write the letter, how to edit the letter, how to upload the letter? Would it be how to get our members more engaged, or how do we promote this particular role for public policy? How do we maybe structure our subcommittees, since we do know that at least of those who are on here today, there are 3 of our state and regionals that have subcommittees. Do we want to know how best to support them in their work? What are some of your thoughts around making sure that we stay all constant on this without overwhelming ourselves? All of us didn't hope to get into this role like Mike B. So, because we're not all public policy analysts, and that's not necessarily what we do, but we know it's important. How best does a state and regional work with Mike and Bill to make this happen for us?
I was just gonna add, I think this is a wonderful idea. Marcus Brown spoke with us yesterday from Illinois Community College Board in Illinois about House Bill, I think it was 2050, about the Dual Credit Act, about letting the high schools make the decisions on what faculty teach. Needless to say, because we're regionally accredited through HLC, if the high schools have control and can teach it, and the instructor's not vetted, we could lose some dual credit enrollment over it. And that's the whole point of the dual credit, is to make sure that it's a baccalaureate level course and the teacher has a master's degree to teach baccalaureate level courses. So we've been writing back to our legislators that it's not a good idea to do this. I understand they're trying to expand diversity and access to all the students to have it, and we already give half the discount of our tuition for the dual credit, but it's not a good idea. So I really like this conversation about, and I know Tiffany Robertson's our president for AACRAO. Hi, Tiffany. But so I'll let her take the floor maybe on that, but I think this is really important to be able to advocate for our schools and whatnot. So thank you.
Yeah, agree. I know Tiffany had mentioned wanting to get the PD because, right, dual enrollment won't be the only issue that will be down. I know when I was at Kent State, I was asked to come in as a part of like a small group. I think it was about 10 colleges and universities. And we went to speak to legislators who were talking, I would say nonsense, but it was insanity around, no, we don't need to vet teachers and anyone can take dual enrollment. And it was just like, wait a minute. The colleges were like, what? How does that happen? And also staffs, we dual enrollment is almost an unfunded mandate. So it's not like your traditional recruitment and admission staff that you have. It can be offices of one or none to maybe 4 or 5. It's not huge. So you're talking about now in just opening up the window to anyone, and someone has to manage all of this for these minors. So there's a lot with that. So thank you for sharing, but one of many, right? I think the transcript withholding is huge, right? Pay a fee, not pay a fee. How do we help support just one another in knowing this? Because we could also be advocating to our leaders, our CEOs, but we could also be saying things from the roles that we sit in as registrars and enrollment for professionals. Go ahead.
You know, I can't tell you how many times that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. It's the truth is that, you know, they have these ideas and they're not bad ideas. It's just that they think it's gonna whoosh, I made an idea, but they don't understand that there's a process for the implementation of such idea, and it's got a domino effect, and it happens, you know, and so the unintended consequences are huge. I mean, you know, just a word, for example, which they think is pretty not like controversial. I'm just gonna say it for like veterans. There's this, you know, they if a the guidance that came out from the VA was that if somebody's called up to be in active duty, an institution must assign a grade of incomplete. Okay, but incomplete in higher education language is something totally different. That they think it's, oh, well, that's just an incomplete. It's not a big deal. It's like, no, that's a huge deal. And you're using wrong language. And really, like, institutions do not, they work with each individual student to make sure that, number one, they don't lose their benefits. Number two, it doesn't impact their GPA. Number three, they have the ability to come back and enroll at the same institution or be able to transfer. Like, you're going to give them an incomplete that's going to crash their GPA. Yeah. So again, it's a perfect example of, you know, us being able to educate. And so, I think it's, you know, I think it's important. I think that's, you know, that's kind of what we do, right?
Well, that's right, Tiffany. Our job is never done. We're often the ones asking questions. And if anything, when you have the conversation about not complete, right? You have this letter grade that oftentimes registrars have to go back and interpret, because someone may say, oh, okay, great, we'll check it off. And registrars be like, no, no, no. Now I have a backlog of trying to understand why this student, because later on they decide to come back or they want their transcript and it should have been this, that, and a third. And it's all of this that we have to kind of unweave so that we can help make the students' life a little bit smoother, but at the same time, it adds more to our table of to-do items. We're going to circle back on this. As Bill mentioned, we will continue with our advocacy conversations. So we're going to have a conversation small at our state and regional pre-conference, another plug, and then we'll also touch base at our leadership meeting, but we'll make this a part of our cycle for our year-long webinars that we have next year, where we'll consistently bring in. And if you have any thoughts or comments or concerns, if you're doing any really great work around this, and we may ask to spotlight some of our subcommittees, some of our state and regionals that have subcommittees, is best practices. I mean, we're all learning as we go, so it's not meant to be perfect or experts, But if we're doing the work, we do want to show that it just takes one foot in front of the other. And that's how we get started. Bill, did you
Janika
want
and
to close
Katie,
this
could
out
I-
with anything? Mhm.
Janika and Katie, could you guys, actually two favors. Could you guys, kind of see who has a government relations structure person, and that way, we'll start reaching out to those folks and having at least, conference calls or webinars every, or Zoom calls every once in a while, on a monthly, and hopefully that will start generating some additional interest. So we're happy, if you guys can just let us know and just give us the POCs, we'll take it from there. And then anytime that we do, we'll obviously let you guys know that we're having it, so you guys are aware of it and can track it. The second thing is, we are looking for members who would want to be part of the Public Policy Advisory Committee. So Mike, if you could forward to Janika and Katie if you guys haven't seen it, just the announcement, there it is. And the deadline to kind of be considered is a week from today. So, and one of the things that we're going to be wanting to move as we move forward is the Public Policy Advisory Group members would all be participants in our Hill Day.
Nice.
And the Hill Day is going to take place July 21st through 23rd of this summer. And with the actual, it's going to be decoupled from Leadership Day, from leadership. And so we are going to have a little bit more time to talk about the issues and a wider conversation around public policy. So be lookout for applications, because this is definitely a group of folks that we have targeted as being great candidates to participate on Hill Day.
Phenomenal. I will get this out to our group via Exchange. Please do, in the interim, grab some links and share away. Now, I did have a question. Are you able to apply for Hill Day separately, or this is the auto group? Okay, so both ways, but Advocacy
ways.
most definitely Hill. Okay, got you.
Yes.
Perfect. Good stuff. I am a former Hill Day participant, and I had a wonderful time representing Maryland. So
Yeah.
please do consider it.
Yeah.
Great learning.
Wes has done it. I know Tiffany's done it. Sarah, you've done it. No?
No?
No, I was at leadership last year, but I did not do the Hill Day portion.
It's never too late,
Fun.
Sarah. A wonderful way. And I would dare to say DC is beautiful in July. I'm just saying. Okay, that's it. Well, thank you,
If your hotel
everyone.
has a pool.
Well, that part, yeah. If not, you can go look at the tidal pool, but
It can't be
Thank
hotter
you.
than Georgia.
Yeah, it's true.
No, it won't be. And we have water. We have water. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you again, Mike and Bill, for the information, the links, sharing to each of you. Thank you for the work that you do. If you're on spring break, near spring break, I hope that you have a little bit of time to just rejuvenate while the students are away. Congrats again, Tiffany, and have a wonderful day, everyone, and a weekend. See you soon.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.